All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our third episode of Kaught Talking Show, hosted by Kaught Looking Barbershop. Our special guest today, Phil Nero. Hand of applause.
Oh, hello, Phil.
How are you, Phil?
Thanks for having me.
You want to talk about yourself first? Introduce yourself.
Well, you just did. I mean, I'm Phil Nero. That doesn't change. I'm here, I guess, because I played a little baseball last year. You played a little baseball last year. Our paths crossed, and you got interested in the book I was writing, and you're actually in the book a little bit.
We are, yeah.
You wanted to talk about that. I'm ready to field your question.
When was the first time you got into baseball?
When I was a kid, it's like part of my first memories, right? You play catch with your dad. You realize you're playing with a ball. Before you know it, you got a glove. So I would say all that sunk in, and I was actually aware of the game of baseball by the time I was 4 or 5 years old, but I didn't play it. I was a big Davy Crockett fan. Walt Disney had a show back then called Davy Crockett, and I used to collect Davy Crockett cards. One year I got into baseball, and I went down to the store where I would buy these Davy Crockett cards, and I think I was maybe 6 years old. And I walked in, and the guy said, I'm all out of Davy Crockett cards. And I said, I'm not here for Davy Crockett cards. And he was an old guy like me, I am now, you know. And I thought he was going to fall over from a heart attack. He was so shocked that I didn't want Davy Crockett cards. He said, what do you want? I said, I want baseball cards. And he said, boom. He was very surprised. So at a young age, but I really got into it as I write in the book. Probably when I was around 9, 10 years old, my father took me to my first baseball game at the old Yankee Stadium. And that was a mind-blowing experience for me to go to the Yankee Stadium with my father, because my father was a working guy. He had his own little business. He had what they'd call now a boutique grocery. Back then they called it the corner grocery store. And he was a butcher. He worked hard. He was a hard-working guy, and I didn't have a lot of memories of doing stuff with my dad. My mother drives me and him down to a subway station in the Bronx, and we get out of the car, and he takes me to a baseball game, and coming out of the subway and seeing the Yankee Stadium, and then walking into that ballpark through the dark mezzanine. And, it's not like it is now with all the lights and,
Right.
You go to the new Yankee Stadium, it's like going to the mall. There's all this stuff going on before you get in, but you knew you were walking into a ballpark. This thing stood really high, and the gates, they looked like mouths that were like swallowing up people. And we walked into this place, and it was dark, and it's cold, and there's all these people around me. I'd never been around that many people in my life, and I'm hanging on to my own man, and we're walking up, and we're walking through, and looking around, and we walk up through the passageway to where our seats are on the third deck, and all of a sudden, boom!
Gotcha.
The blue sky, the old Yankee Stadium facade, the green grass, all the people, the stuff going on the field. I was just overwhelmed. I'm like, wow! And from that day on, I was hooked.
Yeah.
Number one, I was doing something with my dad alone. There were 4 kids in the family. Very rarely get one-on-one time with the guy who's working 12 hours a day,
Yeah.
And so it was the first real memory of doing something with my dad in this magnificent cathedral of baseball with the I think it was 1958 or 57. I'd have to look it up. And Mickey Mantle was down on the field. I mean, for guys my age, Mickey Mantle, who's the big guy in your culture now?
OHTANI?
OHTANI, yeah. Mickey Mantle was OHTANI times 10.
Oh, wow.
He was legendary. I mean, he was just idolized by kids. I mean, and men were in awe of what this guy could do. And unfortunately, his rookie year, he slipped in the outfield and he injured his leg. He used to run. He's one of the fastest guys in baseball, but he was injury prone for the rest of his career because he fell and he hurt his knee. And he would have more tape on his legs. You talk about guys today, they say, oh, I've got a sore calf, I've got a slightly strained calf. Mantle used to, I mean, if you'd see his legs before a game, it was like ace bandages here, there, everywhere, and it almost looked like he had casts on his legs. He had so many bandages, and he still run like the wind.
Oh, wow.
He could run from home to first base. And I think it was 3.1 seconds.
Oh, wow, that's really quick.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, he was a power hitter. I mean, he's a switch hitter. He batted from the left side, the right side. 530-something lifetime home runs. He hit balls further than anybody. When he was in a slump, he would drag bunt to get out of a slump. But he could do everything. You know, they make a big deal now about 30-30, 40-40.
Yeah.
He was interviewed. Bonds or somebody had done 30-30 or 40-40 for the first time. Maybe Ricky Henderson. I don't know who it was. But Mantle was interviewed after he retired, and he said, well, hell, if I thought it was going to be a big deal, I'd have done it 5 times. You know, it wasn't something that they were trying to do then. You know?
What position does he play?
He's a center fielder.
He's the one who make the back play, like he was running back and catch the ball, like.
No, that was Willie Mays.
Oh, Willie Mays. Okay,
yeah,
that was a good play.
The catch is Willie, but Mantle made a great catch in the 1956 World Series to preserve Don Larson's perfect game.
Oh, wow.
Don Larson pitched a perfect game in the 1956 World Series. The only perfect game in the World Series. You know, they talk about who was the guy who played for Philadelphia who threw a perfect game in the postseason. Maybe it was just a no-hitter, but Don Larson, it's
very hard.
Only one ever in the World Series.
That's very hard.
1956.
Now that I listen to you, like, bring my memories. That's how we used to go to the baseball back in Cuba. Like, my dad used to pick me up in school, and we would go to the field, to the baseball field, and watch them play. And that's amazing when you just get to the field, and there's a lot of people. And then when you get to see the field, and the player dress up like the color, different colors, that was amazing.
Yeah, and you know, to me now it's a different experience. It's not the same thing because you go to a ballpark now. I mean, you used to get hot dogs, Cracker Jacks, soda, and beer, right?
Yep.
And the vendors would come, ice cream, maybe cotton candy, and they throw the stuff at you, peanuts, and you'd sit in your seat, you'd watch a baseball game. Now you walk in, you can buy sushi, you can buy gourmet food, you can have your choice of cuisine, and that's before you get anywhere near your seats. And then you get into the place, and I don't know, I go to the ball field now and I feel like I'm sitting in a giant pinball machine and there's a baseball field in the middle of it. Back then, and I sound like an old man that says, get off my lawn, you know, but you would go to the ballpark and it was a ballpark. You were getting away from life. It's like you go there now and
The experience is not the same?
not for me. I
Not
mean,
for you.
I don't know. I mean, today's kids, maybe it is. Maybe that's what they love. But for me now, you're not getting away from the chaos of life to go to the ballpark and see these guys play at an incredible level, playing this magnificent game in an artful way. You're seeing, walk-up songs, the mezzanine video board, the giant scoreboard, and there's all this stuff going on. It's like, you may as well be looking into your iPad or something.
Yeah.
I really miss just going to the ballpark and getting away from it all.
Now, if you would have to play baseball, what position you would choose and why?
Well, every kid back then wanted to play center field because that was Mickey Mantle's position. But as I wound up playing baseball in high school and 1 year of college, I gravitated to second base.
Second base?
Yeah.
Because me growing up, it was mainly shortstop. A lot of kids, especially in Cuba, there's a good shortstop, Herman Meza, they call him, and that's his name. And he used to play for Industrial, and he was really good. I didn't watch him play live because I was a young kid. I born in 1996, so he was still like ready to retire in 2000 something, early 2000s. And then I didn't watch him play, but then I saw videos of him playing, and he was making good plays. So I hear a lot of story. People, oh no, he's the best shortstop ever, blah blah blah. So I got like, okay, I like this guy. I like his video, his catches, his plays, and always wanted, when I was playing Little League, I always wanted to be have his number 11 and be shortstop. right? And I see a lot of people, a lot of kids that back then they like to play shortstop, especially not Cubans, because I don't know around the world, but I know for Cuban, mostly they want to play shortstop. And even in the Kraken, that you remember, I don't know if you were, you probably weren't in the group chat when we were making the team, when the team was in develop. They were asking, what position? Everybody was like, shortstop. So it was, a lot of people like shortstop because they say it's the hot, one of the hot spot there, And then third base, you got to have a lot of reflex. And for me, it was shortstop. Then I got changed in high school to outfield, and I did enjoy outfield. And it was a good experience to play both little league infield and outfield when I was in high school. And you say you wanted to play center field, which is good.
But I wasn't the power hitter. I wasn't the fast guy. So I got to second base. Now that one game I played with you guys, I played second base. And I hadn't played baseball in over 45 years.
Wow.
And in that game, it comes back to you. We turned a 6-4-3 double play. And it was the first one you guys did all year, and the kids on the other team looked at me,
I think
and they couldn't believe it.
No, we weren't there.
Oh, you weren't there?
We weren't there.
Oh, yeah, I showed up one week when you guys.
I heard of it. I
remember.
I don't know. We were.
I showed up and they had 8 guys, right? And they said, oh, there's not going to be a game today because we only have 7 guys, and there's not going to be a game today because we need 8. And then Christian Kaught says, hey, writer man, he's a wise ass. You want to play? And I said, yeah, if they'll let me, I'll play. Joe says, I said, yeah, Joe, if Joe can talk to him, I'll play, And Joe goes and he goes over and he talks to them, and they look over and they look at me and they laugh, And they come back, yeah, they say it's okay. And he said, where can you play? I said, look, I was 74 years old, and I said, I'm 74 years old. The only throw I can really make is from second base to first. I'm not going to play the outfield and throw it in, and I'm not going to, cover much ground in the outfield, but I can still, if the ball's hit to me at second base, I can play second base. So went out and I played second base. And the first ground ball to me came in the second inning, I think. I fielded it cleanly. I threw the guy out, and some stuff went on, and a couple innings later, we had first and second, 1 out, and there's a 1-hopper to the shortstop. Went over, covered the bag, made the pivot, made the throw, double play. We were out of the inning.
That's awesome.
These guys on the other, they look at me like, holy shit. These guys on the other team, they look at me and they couldn't believe it.
Well, that's awesome.
It felt good because, again, I hadn't played in a long time. And then I had to hit, and I tell you, those bats get heavy after 45 years.
Yeah, they do, right? They do. Especially for many years you haven't played it, and grabbing, handling a baseball bat is it's a little bit challenging.
And I don't know how fast those guys pitch, but it's got to be upper 70s into the 80s, right?
Yeah,
some of them.
Yeah,
even a little bit higher, some.
Yeah,
sometimes.
And the one guy we played that day, he had a pretty good fastball, and I was trying to catch up to a fastball without any batting practice. I haven't played in 45 years.
It's difficult.
Yeah,
but
really
I made
hard.
contact. I struck out 3 times, but I made contact in every at-bat.
Let's talk about your book. When do you become a writer?
I started writing very young. In 4th grade, I wrote a play for our 4th grade class, and they put it on. So I always felt like writing was something I could do. I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but I was always writing something, it seemed. Then my career after I graduated college, I started doing advertising copywriting, and then I said, I don't like this. I don't like telling people that they ought to buy stuff they don't need, make up reasons for them to buy stuff they don't need. I'm going to become a journalist. And so I did that, and I became a journalist probably for the bulk of my career. Weeklies, daily newspapers, different size markets. That brought me out to the Midwest from New York. Worked at the Milwaukee Journal out there. So I wrote all my life. I made my living writing when newspapers started dying. I went to work for a nonprofit organization, and I put out magazines or magazine articles. I wrote a golf instruction book back in 2007 with the PGA Teaching Pro, helped him write that book, and I wrote a novel. They both came out the same year, and I was doing my other stuff. I was earning a living, and I had these writing projects. So I was always a writer. I always felt like that's what came to me. And I thought when I retired, well, I'll just write for myself. I won't have the pressure to have to make money writing. But writing is work if you do it right. And once I retired, I said, I don't want to do this. I'm retired. I want to have fun. And so the idea for this book, I started to say, well, maybe I'm not a writer, because they say writers write, and I wasn't writing. And the idea for this book came in the fall of 22. I was bringing my lawn chairs into the basement, and I went down to the basement, and my baseball glove was sitting there on the shelf. And I picked it up, and I said, it's getting a little stiff. I brought it upstairs, and I went online, and it said, you can use olive oil on a baseball glove. Never knew that. I broke out the olive oil, I started working in the glove, and I said, hey, I played some senior softball when I was down in Florida taking care of my father-in-law. Maybe I'll go down there again this year and just play some softball. And then I started thinking about the relationship between the baseball glove and the player. And if you think about it, you guys play other sports?
Not really.
Did you play any soccer when you were a kid?
High school only, but it was it's friends.
But the baseball glove, it's probably the most intimate piece of sporting equipment that anybody had. So I retrieved this glove from the basement, and I start working it, and it sparked a lot of memories about my love for the game. And when you think about it, there's no other piece of equipment in sports that's like a baseball glove. You get a glove, you work it in, it becomes part of you, an extension of you. It's your glove. I mean, you have an attachment with it. You bat, you'll break your bat. Balls go over the fence, they wear out. Cleats, you're going to wear out your cleats, but I mean, I know guys who've had the same baseball glove almost all their life. There's stories in the book about baseball players, and one guy, when they had the earthquake, Mike Gallego, he was an infielder for the A's, and during the I think it was a 1988 World Series, there was an earthquake in California during the series, and this guy, they're running out of the stadium because they're afraid the stadium's going to fall down, and this guy's so attached to his glove, he says, oh man, I forgot my glove. He runs back under the baseball stadium while the earthquake's going on, grabs his baseball glove and runs. He didn't want to, he risked his life for his baseball glove. So there's an attachment and there's a history. I mean, when they started playing baseball, there were no gloves. Played bare hands. The first guy that wore a glove, he wore a brakeman's glove from a railroad train. He was a railroad brakeman, and he got these railroad brakeman gloves, and he put them on because his hands hurt. And they laughed at him. They called him a sissy and other stuff. Wow. We'll say sissy for you. But from then, from the brakeman's glove, just to ease the pain, over the years, the glove developed. There's here in the book. I don't know if they can see it. There's an ad here for. This was, let's see, when was this ad? 1919. These were ads for
back in the days,
a company called D&M. And you can see how primitive these gloves were, right?
Oh, wow, I see that.
Yeah. So that's, a little bit more than a glove. And then as you go on, the style of the glove changed. Here, this is Hank Aaron. This is a glove in 1950. This is a guy who works out of Cooperstown, Scott Carpenter. He makes baseball gloves. Now this glove, this guy's crazy imaginative. His name is Scott Carpenter. This glove is for it's a prototype for an ambidextrous baseball player, so you can flip it from the left hand to the right hand. It's got 6 fingers, and I said, how are you going to put it together? He says, I can't tell you. It's my private design. He goes, I'm not going to tell you until I
finish the project.
Until I finish it. There you go. So yeah, I mean,
you can see how it evolved.
So the first part of the book is, I decide, I want to write about the history of the glove, the relationship with the glove, and maybe I'll go play baseball. And so the first part of the book I call Fall. That's the first section of the book, and it's about the process of getting my glove back together and writing the historical account of the book. And I also get into why we love baseball the way we do. Different than any other sport, even football. Football, people gamble their heads off. There'll be more people watch the Super Bowl than any other event. I get that. But baseball, it gets under your skin in a different way than football does. in America, especially in Cuba
Right.
and in
Yes.
Latin America. It just, and now in Japan.
Japan.
You know,
And
I
they're
mean,
doing good.
yeah.
They love baseball.
But in America, it's part of the culture because when we started playing baseball, it was in the 1800s. It was a variation of town ball or round ball. They had different names for these games that you'd play with sticks and bats, or balls and bats. And they would refine the rules, and then clubs, like social clubs, would spring up. And these guys were living in cities, and they'd get out of the city to play baseball. So it became a retreat, a pilgrimage on weekends. They'd go, they call it, in Hoboken, it was the Elysian Fields. And all these little clubs, these social clubs from New York City, they'd go up the Hudson River, they'd cross over into Jersey, and they'd play their games. They'd get away from the drudgery of, I mean, city life was, I mean, it's dirty now, but it was dirty back then. You know, you had horses in the street, you know, you had all kinds of chaos, you know, dirt roads. I mean, city life was messy, and you wanted to get away from that musty air, and they go off, you know, this was their little pilgrimage. No other sport is woven into the history of our country like baseball is. I mean, variations of it started almost like in the 1700s, and it just evolved in different ways. And there's all kinds of debates over who made the rules, where the first game was played, and we go into that a little bit in the book as well. But it's just part of our life in a way that no other sport is.
Awesome. And let me ask you this. I see here you choose our Sunday League team, the Krakens, right? They call themselves, we call them ourselves, Kraken. And we played every Sunday. And how, what got you interested in going out there and just say, okay, let me choose a random team, or you?
It was all organic. I mean, I didn't plan the book. I wrote the book. I said, I'm going to go down there and play baseball. I'm going to talk to people who play baseball. And so when I was down here, I was down at Cambier Park in Naples. I ran into a workshop of a woman from North Carolina who played college softball, fast pitch softball, was doing a clinic in Cambier Park for the Naples Girls Little League. I got her name and number, and I interviewed her, and I asked about the league, and they told me about Martin. So I gave Martin a call, and I said, hey, I want to talk to a coach in your league. I want to talk to you about your league. And then he said, oh, by the way, I play hardball on the weekend. And so that led me to the Kraken. So I was just writing about the experience and the cultural complexities of baseball in the area. You know, how people connect with the game. I even make fun of you guys. You know, you shorted the team when you went off to watch the game in Miami last year.
I did.
The World Baseball Classic.
And I remember you came and got a haircut that day, and you took a picture of us in the shop here. And we were at that. I think the next day we were heading to Miami to see the World Baseball Classic. It was going on in March, and it was fascinating when we were reading our chapter here. It was fascinating how you can remember all that we were talking here on that day. I mean, pretty much everything that we talk about is in here. Yeah. In this book.
Yeah, I took notes. So, you know, I wanted to write stories about people who love baseball, and that's what it did. I just, you know, I used to be a journalist, so I was looking for stories to tell. So these are stories about baseball, and I get into why I think the game is so important. Why football will never replace it as our national pastime. There you go. This is a great day. That was the day that I played. We went out. We celebrated afterwards.
Okay, so that was I see you wearing the Kraken hat.
Yeah, and he's wearing my hat.
That's awesome. Now, where can people purchase this? Where they can go and buy where they buy this book?
They can buy it on Amazon.
Okay.
And they can, if they go to my website, Nero.com. That's with one L, PH.
I'll make sure I write it down here so that way they
Okay,
can see
all
it.
right,
And also
yeah.
in the description, we can, they can click on it and we'll go directly to your website or Amazon also and purchase a book.
If they go to the website, there's a direct link there from the book cover to the Amazon page, and the novel I wrote as well is on there. They can buy both books if they want.
Does the cover and the book matter?
Does it matter?
Yeah, like let's say any other let's say I'm writing a book and does the cover of the book, does it matter for people to purchase it?
Well, they say you can't tell a book by its cover, but this matters to me. That's my baseball glove.
That's your baseball glove?
That's my baseball glove.
I didn't know that.
and that's a ball from the league I played in last year.
The baseball?
And that baseball was from a Hall of Fame game in Cooperstown, New York. I have at my house. So, and it was, that's it.
That's awesome.
That's the significance of it. But
so, all right, Phil. So, what makes a good story? What makes a good story?
I think a good story is dependent on the characters. If you're reading a book and you don't like the characters, you're not going to care about the book. You're not going to want to read the book. There has to be a connection with the character. And so good characters and a good story make a good book. And you have to write it well, too. They say writing is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. You get the idea, and then you have to write it, and that's a lot of work. It's like shaping clay over and over and over again.
All right, so to finish up, the last question will be, what is your favorite book of all time that have you read in your whole lifetime and you want to share with us?
For years I would say my favorite book was Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut Jr. And I can hardly remember the story now. I mean, I remember the general parameters of it. But he had a good main character, and the theme was a very good theme. It was an anti-war novel, and it was done really well. It became a cult classic in the 1970s, and he was just a brilliant man and a great writer. He didn't write complex books, but he wrote fascinating books.
Wow.
And but that was one style of book. Another book I really liked was a book called Where the Crawdads Sing by, her name is Delia Owens. Beautifully written book. And then another well-written book is called Horse. And the woman who wrote that, her last name is Brooks. Beautifully written stories. So well-written stories, characters you care about, in a style that you can connect to as a reader. Because if the words don't advance the story, if you don't have good characters and you don't have a good storyline, you don't have a good book.
Gotcha. That sounds makes sense. All right, guys. So thank you very much, Phil. You guys can know where to go. I have the link below. I will have the link below to your website. That way they can go through there if they want to purchase both book or one book, whatever you guys like. Highly recommend this book. If you like baseball, you must get it. It's very organic stories, so it's really good. And thank you very much, Phil, for having you on the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And if you ever need a second baseman again.
For sure, definitely. For you out there, thank you very much for still watching the video. And if you want to like, comment, if you have any thoughts about it, you can fill the comments below. Be part of the show. Thank you very much. Until our next episode will be on Thursday, 6:30 every Thursday every week. Okay, thank you very much, Peter, for being here also. Phil, thank you very much. And we'll see you again. Thank you.
That was a pleasure.